Let's talk about the grief and the guilt and all of the emotions that come along with letting go of family heirlooms. So I'm Noelle. I am a realist dreamer, going through all of my things, getting rid of everything. And so this is a very pertinent topic right now in my life. I've also inherited a lot of things. So what do you do with the furniture that was your grandparents'? I have a bed that was my great-grandparents' that I used, and then my one kid used, and then my other kid used. What about the dishes that my mom so carefully put together? What do you do when it no longer fits your life? Here's my advice, and take what you will and leave the rest. Every family is different, every dynamic. What your path going forward will look like could be very different than what my path going forward would look like. If I knew I was going to stay in this house for the next 40 years and host Christmas dinners and have my kids and grandkids in this home, I would choose to keep a few more things. I would still be very disciplined about what I kept, but I am in an extreme place of getting rid of everything because I know we're leaving our home. But I still think there's very useful muscle building techniques that I'm learning through this that can be helpful. So the first is, I imagine my relatives that have now passed on the other side. And while they may have appreciation for the role that these items played in different family memories and building a home and creating a certain feel, I can't imagine that they give two craps about these physical things. I genuinely don't think they're up there thinking, you need to keep the dresser. That dresser means something. That they are evolved to a place of knowing that it's just a piece of furniture. So that's number one. I also, while here on earth, have witnessed the emotional toll that not being able to let things go can play into people's lives. I have watched generation after generation in certain parts of my circle burden each other with the guilt of stuff. I've watched them not be able to get rid of things because they liked it or it served a purpose at one time and they were just taught. And I think coming from like our grandparents' generation, at least my age, maybe it's your great-grandparents or your parents, came from like the greatest or the Great Depression generation, that they were raised in a different way where they didn't have the availability of goods that we have nowadays. They were raised in a way that they couldn't simply get things when they needed them. Things are very different now. We have the ability, if we want this very specific magazine from 1984, we can probably find it. We don't need to keep every magazine in case we need that one. So that's my second perspective on this, is I've watched it hinder people. I imagine what they could have done if they could have gotten rid of 75% of the things and kept the 25% that really mattered to them. In fact, going through my grandparents' things a couple years ago, and there was beautiful dishes and home decor pieces that we never saw because they were on a shelf with 12 other sets of dishes and plates and things shoved in there so tightly, no one could ever see them. And I just think how sad that I imagine them at a place or on a trip getting this very special dish set or a small little coffee cup from Finland or whatever it was. And then it sat shoved because there was just more and more and we never got to see that. So what would it look like if they would have been able to free themselves of even a percentage of that? Because then I watched my father with the exact same issue where he doesn't know how to get rid of things. He let us get rid of it for him. So he's already evolved to that point where he wasn't attached to the things. He just didn't simply have the muscle build up to be able to let go of things. So he would give me the things and I would get rid of them for him. That was how we kind of negotiated this situation. He knew I was going to get rid of them, but it helped him to at least create a layer in between him and the stuff of detachment. And then don't tell me what happens to it. I don't want to know, sort of situation. So we're seeing growth here. Now to my generation, to where, again, I've shared in past videos, I've gone through extreme amounts of things I've inherited, but I'm so detached now from this stuff. It's lost so much meaning because I look at so much of it as anchors. I look at the pain it's caused. I look at the amount of money that was spent on so much stuff that just sat there shoved behind other things. It wasn't even going to get its moment in the spotlight. And I don't ever want to feel that. I don't ever want to have my kids feel that, where they're looking through this and they don't know what it meant because there's so much stuff. So you're in a position, if you're watching this, where you still have time to make choices. And we all have things that we can make these choices about. You can sell the things. You can donate them. You can, at a very minimum, properly label them so your kids know what they're going through when eventually they go through your things. Imagine yourself downsizing your home. Instead of just simply, well, we have the space and we have upstairs and we have downstairs and whatever else. Imagine that you have to go through that stuff because you know you're going to, at some point, that stuff is not staying in that house. You are going to pass away. I am going to pass away at some point, and we don't take any of the stuff with us. So you don't have this lifelong arrangement with these things that it's forevermore. There is an end date, and someone has to deal with it. So if you can look at that, and regardless if you knew the date of when your passing was, hopefully many years from now, you may just be maybe 5 years, 10 years, 40 years ahead of time letting that thing go. And if you can do it in a way that's not rushed and panicked, you can actually find them good homes. You can find people who collect these things still. You can find people who are looking to finish a set of dishes that they have. And there's nothing wrong with things. It's just simply when we, especially in America, we have this issue of this overconsumption. And we were trained, I really believe, generationally from people who didn't grow up with enough stuff. So they felt very much a sense of accomplishment and success when they were able to achieve and get things. And I believe our generation's sense of success is when we can feel this sense of inner knowing that we don't need the stuff to prove who we are. Enjoy a few of the things. Enjoy the things that are functional to you and some things that actually matter to you and bring meaning. But I guarantee around all of us, there's things that are not any of those and are just there out of guilt because we don't want to deal with it or make a decision about it, or we're not sure what to do with it. So lastly, some ways to get rid of that without the guilt. 1, photograph it. Photograph it so you have a memory of it. Or photograph the entire room. So you can always have that option to look back and just think of it and feel those feelings still that you associate with it. 2, reach out to family members. If you know that you hate to always burden people who have maybe more of a hoarderish mindset with more stuff. So make this call based on the person. But like my sisters and I often will swap things that we inherited from our mom, or I'll check with them sometimes before I get rid of something to see if they wanted something. With your kids, check with them. If not, what I did in my home was I set up a little photo station. I would take a photo of the item. You can go into eBay and see what it's selling for. click the filter and go to the sold part and take clear photos of that. Get some packing supplies. All of this is very doable. And if you need someone to help you, have someone help you. Anything that was easy to ship, that's what I did. Other things is you can take photos and on Facebook Marketplace or Craigslist, sell them. Or I've mentioned in another video, you can have an estate sale person, an antique shop owner come into your home. So many will do this for you and offer you something for those items and haul it away for you. There's also places you can donate items. Check about board games to hospitals or blankets to pet shelters, things like that. If you can do this in a time where you're healthy enough and you have the mindset where you're feeling sharp enough to think ahead a few steps, you can actually help those things and honor the things. Think of how much more fulfilling it is for that really cool vase to get used by someone who finds it or buys it, and they're so excited because they don't have 50 other vases. It's the perfect one for their space. And they get to put the wildflowers they collected, and they picture this whole story. How much more fulfilling is that than it's sitting behind rows and rows of things on a shelf for 40 years, never getting seen or used? Which one is honoring the item more? And then lastly, I guess just draw a line in the sand of refusing to take on the ancestral guilt about stuff. I think people do the best that they can do, but there's a lot of other layers of emotions that come into stuff beyond just the item. And just because our parents or grandparents or great-grandparents had that mindset about certain things does not mean you need to. You can honor that item. You can offer to give it back to someone. You can do all the things I previously mentioned while not allowing your whole life to be filled with guilt about the items. So keep what serves you. I think we all deserve to have nice things, and we deserve to have things. I don't want anyone sitting in a home where it feels barren to them because from a place of lack. But also the same thing, I think you deserve a home where you don't feel overcluttered and burdened by the stuff and the feelings that come along with it. I think we all can feel better about ourselves as we start to build that muscle and this knowing and this belief in ourselves that we can handle what comes our way. And stuff is just one more piece of that puzzle. If you have anything you'd add to this, please share in the comments. I think we all have our stories about inheriting things or going through things and what's worked for us. Again, I could talk for hours about this, so there's probably many parts of this I did not mention, but I have many videos on it between here and my art channel, so feel free to check those out. Otherwise, I wish you well. Thanks for watching. Bye.